Sure. And I don't know how appropriate this is or how it should be phrased, but I am trying to build a little prototype, and I want to use a small internal combustion engine and chain drive. And I've been looking at like go-kart videos, that sort of thing. I'd love to do electric drive, especially for robots. But the more I look at it, the more I think, it's just not there yet. The technology is expensive. Yeah, everything is, well, I'm finding hub motors and controllers, but then I get into batteries, and batteries are pretty darn expensive. I was thinking I would do a hybrid solution with a generator, but even getting, I don't know about doing a rectifier and doing it for something that would handle the kind of load that I'm thinking. Anyway, so my plan for now is just to put a small internal combustion engine on a device and drive it with a chain drive, because that looks really simple, except I've never really done it, except a go-kart that I had as a little kid, and the chain was always coming off. So I'm not very good at this. But I wonder if there are any kits. Like Servo City has some, I think I saw that they had some drive kits there, but I'm looking for big, like 50 pitch chain or larger. So these are big sprockets and chains. And I don't know how to use bearings the best way. And I know there are special hubs and there are clamp-on hubs. I suspect that there's someone who has built with chains and sprockets who could say, oh, what you want to use, you want to use this clamp-on hub, and you use these pillow block bearings, and you just put everything together. I haven't found that yet. So I'm really curious. I think a lot of us would benefit from a little toolbox of engine parts, engine components. That was all.
Are you talking about like maybe a 20 to 30 horsepower engine?
Exactly. Yep. And I might even start smaller just to get a feel for it.
40
I mentioned.
So this is just as a model to learn, small scale
Yep.
model.
Yep. I just want to make something drive. And ideally, I'd like to put an electric clutch on it. I'm familiar with centrifugal clutches, but I think I read something where they don't really work when you get over a few horsepower, which seems odd. But I'd like to have electric so that I have some form of control on it that's electronic. And then I'll try to do a servo for the throttle, and probably add some kind of a linear actuator with a brake somewhere. And I'd like to see how precise I can get, how much control I can get from a system like that, because it really seems like the cheap way to do things.
Yeah, I like the idea of the go-kart, the kind of the tube metal construction. And chain-driven go-kart has to be out there.
Yeah, well, and part of it, I think all the pieces are out there. The issue I have with the go-karts is that they're not heavy, they're not rugged enough, it's not the kind of power I'm thinking. But also, as far as mounting, I'd love to use something like T-slot aluminum.
Yeah.
I've tried to find, is there a heavy duty version of T-slots? And maybe the answer is no.
Get a different size.
Yeah, the different sizes. Just get a bigger one. And that's fine. But I was trying to figure out if there was a steel version of T-slots, and I found C. It's a C cross section. It's like I forget what it's called, but I think they're usually used for hanging things overhead. Um, anyway, it doesn't look like it's quite the same as what I expect from a T-slot kit, but maybe, yeah. I didn't know if aluminum extrusions would hold up to an internal combustion engine. So,
Well, how big engine are you going to put on there?
yeah, right. So a 23 horsepower, let's say,
Okay.
and that doesn't seem too bad, except if it's knocking around in a field and it's subject to not only the engine vibration but banging around in a field. I don't know. I'm not a materials guy, so I tend to overdo things.
Yeah, I don't, those are great questions. It would be fun to see if maybe somebody on Farm Hacks, I think they've made a few different machines, and to see if there's somebody on the mechanical side.
Yeah, farm hacks. Yeah, and most people just weld things up.
Yeah, exactly.
And I've got welding, taking classes. I've got to get my TIG welder back in shape. It's just, I really hate welding things up. I feel so much better about something like T-slot that I can kind of do and then go, oh, no, that wasn't right. And move it around a little bit. Welding seems so final.
Just need a cutting torch and a grinder.
Yeah, I know.
Jeff could help on that, March, and you can go out to Open Source Ecology. They'll grind, weld, torch.
Yeah, and I need to get I want a new grinder. I want something that's not battery powered.
Well, I like the different sizes. I think that's great. I use a little RC car to play around with, same type of thing. It's not very robust, but you can play around with the software and see how it works.
Yeah, and I dug up my first tractor that I modified, which is a 23 horsepower John Deere with hydrostatic drive, and I thought about using that as a testing platform.
Sure,
but
that'd be robust.
I like that. I want to use that for guidance. Yeah, I think I got it running again. So good for doing guidance testing. But I really wanted to try some things that are non-traditional drive. So not just a hydrostatic drive, because I feel like there's a lot of loss with hydrostatic. And chain drive is a good way to avoid that drive loss. I don't know how much background noise there is. I just let my dogs out, so sorry if I'm making all sorts of noise.
Oh, that's good. Good evening, Jeff. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. I had a little bit of delay getting on. I live off grid, so I had to run and put a generator on my internet relay site and get two generators running, one for the house and one for the internet. And then I decided I didn't want to play with the phone this time. I wanted to use my computer, and I didn't have the app on the computer. So sorry, I got here just a tad late.
No worries. Jeremy is showing us his new toy. He's got virtual reality goggles or augmented reality goggles, the Meta 2. Some pretty high-tech gear.
What's the resolution on that, Jeremy?
I don't remember the exact spec, but it's got one of the widest field of views, so that's why I got it. It's still a little. I've tried the HoloLens, and when you look out, yeah, the HoloLens is kind of like looking through a tunnel, but this is a little more immersive. Plus, it has hand tracking capability. So
I would really like to find something that is not so immersive. Some
oh, really?
A heads-up display, and
I think
I look for those every now and then.
There's something, I forget the name of the company, but there's a company that's making one for the iPhone that has, it's just something you drop your iPhone in and then it kind of reflects it onto a screen that you can wear. And I forget what the name is, but I know there's one of those.
I was thinking more something like Google Glass, and I thought they were coming out with another version, but I'd like something more experimenter oriented.
Yeah, I'm not sure about Google Glass. I thought they killed that off, but maybe there's a round two.
Read that they were going to go after industrial design more, and that's I'm trying to think, like Siemens or IBM or someone did industrial heads up a long time ago for aviation airline repair, and I think that's still going. So I thought I saw that Google was going to target that market.
And maybe they have another device for that. I found when I wore the Google Glass like last April, and I felt like it was hard to see, kind of focus in on it because it's kind of floating up here off your eye, and you kind of have to focus in on the screen and then change your gaze. So I didn't find it very convenient to wear. Maybe maybe I didn't have it adjusted right or something.
Well, and it might be the virtual, what is it? What do they call it? The focus distance might have been set up for someone who was in a desk and in an office environment, rather than if you were out in the open.
I don't think it was so much a matter of focus, but the placement of the screen. Like it was really hard to just kind of, use. For me, it was kind of hard to change my gaze between this little screen and what I was looking through. I like these see-through because everything's kind of right there.
Oh, wait, say that again. You like the see-through?
Because it's all in focus. So the environment and everything you're trying to interact with.
It's immersive, right? I mean, it's not see-through. Everything's being generated in the glasses that you're using. Is that right? Okay, got it.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
I would assume, though, I was playing with the SDK earlier this week, and it looked like I'm guessing you could attach like you could attach a fixed frame to your body reference, and have some things that are Google Glass like, but you could adjust the placement of that. But these aren't lightweight, so you wouldn't. And this particular one is tethered, unlike the HoloLens. So the HoloLens, you don't have to. It's just an all-in-one, and this you have to tether to a PC. So that's kind of inconvenient.
That's actually what I would prefer.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, I really want something tethered and something I can run my own. What is the name of the one you have?
This is called the Meta 2. And for me, the selling point was the price point. It's less than half the price of a HoloLens. And the other thing was it has hand tracking, so it'll actually do collision detection with the models that you put in view. So you can move things around with your hands, and you can like interact with whatever models depending on how you set it up.
So I'm still catching on to everything. I'm looking at the Meta 2 now, and it is a see-through, or I forget the name of that.
AR?
It is not. It's not what I would call immersive.
Okay,
right?
I'm not sure what you mean by immersive then.
Let's see if I'm using that correctly. Um, yeah, if you look at like the iHUD, trying to think. I was meaning the immersive to be one that blocks your vision entirely, and
Oh,
so you rely on the display for everything.
yeah, like an opaque
Exactly.
view. Yeah,
Yep.
that's mostly called like virtual reality, although Microsoft has a new headset that they call mixed reality, and I think I can't remember the name of the company, but there's another what I would consider augmented reality company, and they use the term mixed reality different. And what I've heard is that a lot of people call mixed reality where regardless if it's transparent or an opaque interface, they it's the idea of mixing real real like real life video or real life scene with some kind of computer generated scenery. And I don't, that's kind of muddy in the water if you ask me, but I think the terminology is getting very confusing. I don't know.
I like the looks of the Meta 2. Did you buy the SDK for 1500?
Well, I got it on pre-order, so it was only it was less than $1,000 when I bought it, but
Ah,
they've
okay.
hiked it up since then.
And it says Unity driver or something. Are you using it from Linux?
I'm using it on the PC, and there's a Unity driver. There's also there's an OpenVR driver, but in my experience, if I'm gonna write apps for it, I'm gonna use Unity because they support a lot more than just the Meta 2s. Their support for the HoloLens and ARKit for Apple and ARCore for the Android devices. And so I think it's a better route to dip in that environment.
So the Unity, it's not just like some hardware comes with a Unity driver. That means it's probably like Java or something that runs on several OSs. But Unity is an actual thing here. I'm
Unity is the
slowly
game
coming up to
engine.
speed.
Unity is a game engine. It's
Okay.
used for like developing mostly game apps, but it's come into its own with VR, virtual reality, and augmented reality. So there's a lot of development going
Okay.
on in that space. And it's got some other pretty nifty features, like it has a physics modeling, so you can like put objects in view, and they have collision detection and physics-based reactions between collision geometries. So if you drop something, and you have
Okay.
a ground plane, it'll bounce on the ground plane depending on how you've set the
I
physics
see that
model.
um, the resolution is 2560 by 1440. Wow. Um,
Yeah,
can you
it's
just use it as a display?
yeah. There's that mode. I haven't really. I've tried that mode, and I had a little trouble, so I haven't learned how to do the hand tracking quite seamlessly yet. But once I kind of get that more figured out, then that'll probably be easier to set up. But it's pretty nice because you can just set up I think they give you like in the demo software, they give you like 2 or 3 screens, and you can just literally drag them and drop them anywhere in space around you. But there'll be, I mean, to me, the augmented reality is, as you were pointing out, I mean, I think that's the way to go. It's going to be, I think it's just going to change the way we use computers almost completely,
Yeah.
especially 3D, 3D objects being even more pervasive than, even a few years ago.
All right, I'll check this out. I'm not seeing any Linux support, but I'm hopeful.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I know you can run Unity from Linux, and I don't remember there being a requirement for Windows, although everything I've done has been on Windows. So I never really I don't think I ever looked into that. But surely, I think somewhere they talk about the requirements.
Well, thanks. Thanks for letting me sidetrack us a little bit. I am interested in this.
That's going to be the future display to run all of your tractors when they're out in the field.
Yeah, well, I've been working on putting some screens in my Airstream. I plan to use my Airstream as the base. And yeah, I do think about if I just had I don't know what you call it, the goggles, some kind of goggles, that would be a pretty simple way to do it.
It's pretty cool. I just hope that they can, figure out a way to right now these are just considered development kits, and I hope that they can come up with a way to make it a little more for everyone, because not everybody wants to wear this stuff around and carry a laptop around. They just kind of want a lightweight headset, I think, and be able to see AR content. So we'll have to see.
It's interesting. It's going to come down and look like just sunglasses. Just wear them all the time. There was a couple discussions from last time about standards for communicating ROS messages, and I looked around at a couple different packages from that use Ackerman steering and differential drive, and I posted those in the data standards. I was just wondering, is that kind of the layer that we want to target, the message coming out of the controller that will be sent to the vehicle?
I'll jump in. Boris, go ahead, Jeremy.
I was just going to say, if you're talking about obviously the one at the open source ecology is not an Ackerman style vehicle. It's a skid steer, but I mean, I guess depending if you're retrofitting a tractor that some OEM makes, then it makes some sense. But it seems like the ones you and I, that in recent experience, it seems like everything has been skid steer, and maybe that's a cost thing. I don't know.
I don't know either. The skid steer, the differential drive uses the twist message, and then there's a converter from twist to the motors.
I would really like to see the curvature command used rather than having to know so much about the steering mechanism. So I'm looking for more abstraction. Okay. I think everything in ROS should know like how it wants the tractor or whatever to turn. So the specifics of that should be abstracted away. And even, if we go even further than what I cover, Ackerman and differential drive, if we have, say, a 4-wheel steer holonomic, that gets even more important. So, and I've never dealt with that, so I don't know.
Are the units of curvature, is that radians?
I would guess it is. I have not looked.
I think it's, I mean, the way we had it at ASI, Matt, was went over the turning radius, inverse of the turning radius.
That makes sense. Let's see. I'm looking for it.
And turning radius is in meters.
Yeah, so 1 over meters. And yeah, it's turning about a center in an Ackerman style, so that does make sense.
So if we standardize on that message, then it doesn't matter if it's on the vehicle side, if it's an Ackerman vehicle, it's going to have to make those calculations. If it's a differential drive, it'll just take that curvature and steer toward that. Or
Yeah,
but then, that's what I was thinking.
I think if you start looking at go at a higher level, it's not going to work. If you look at what is done on like the navigation stack with like the move base controller, the base controller, like they use command like a geometry message twist, right? But then on the Ackerman side of things, all the planners are different. So I don't know how you'd abstract it all out to be like generic. That you could have one message that would do all that and then change the planner based on what kind of kinematics you have.
Even with differential drive, I'm looking at some tweaking. I don't know how relevant this is. I don't want to steer hard, for example, in the field. I can turn in place, but I would berm the heck out of the field. So I think even with differential, it's important to have some ability to limit it. And people go back and forth between twist and the Ackerman. I've even done that with some experimentation with the Frobomind demonstration, just limiting the amount that it can turn. I'm not seeing what the issue is with being more generalized. Are you saying that the planners won't work?
Yeah, the path planners are set up for certain types of kinematics because they have two different like planners sets, like one for the Ackerman stuff that they're just like getting off the ground, and then the planners around the diff drive robots.
What keeps someone? Go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, 'cause the path planners are the ones that generate the motions, right? The commands. So, and they're based on the kinematics of the robot.
But if you limit the curvature of the differential drive, would that be okay? Can you do that before you send it to the planner? Or is the setup?
That I don't know. I mean, I'm just looking at like the navigation stack, move base, like you're looking at like localization, like at a high level, right? Has anybody used the raw stack, the full thing, like the full navigation stack?
Nope. I'd like to.
Right.
I'd like to.
So we haven't used it either, but we looked in depth at this last year, just based on our kinematics. on Ackerman versus disk drive. And we knew it would be a problem, but I haven't actually used it in practice. So, but I know it'd be an issue, and how we solve it, that's for me, it's a question mark.
So what's the next step, or how do we test that? Can we build that in simulation?
Yeah, probably could, I guess. If we have has anybody got the simulate, like any simulation up on Gazebo?
Yep.
Not Ackerman. We have well, we don't have it fully running, but there's a model for the open source ecology microtrac.
Okay, and that based on what kinematics is a diff drive chassis? And you do diff drive commands?
Yeah, I mean, that part hasn't been worked out in the simulation, but that's how the tractor works.
Okay, and how's the simulation? What's been done on that?
Some of the basics, just sensors right now, and just the model. So 3D models for the
Okay.
for the vehicle.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, if we can have a simulator up that we can start testing, right? An Ackerman-based one, and then a diff drive one.
Yeah, and use the same planner, use the same setup, and then see how it changes, or what adjustments we can make.
Yeah, now we used because we needed a simulator. We've used the Auto Rally platform in the past, so we're looking at actually co-opting that.
I've used the Earl Robotics rover, and that's Ackerman.
Okay. Yeah, that's a Gazebo model?
Yep.
Okay.
And then if you go on I've used like the Husky, but those are all differential.
Yeah, it'd be good to, well, if we could take the early robotic rover and then the Husky, I guess, and then try to see what happens.
I'll be happy to provide real robots if you want to use them. I've got Husky, I've got differential tractor, I've got Ackerman tractor. Let's let them rip.
Okay. I'd like to simulate it first.
Sounds good. Less metal bent.
Don't you have snow on the ground yet?
We do, and I still have corn in the ground.
Okay. Did you take it off? Now I'm segueing off topic, but when do you take it out of the ground?
It should have been out a long time ago. I've got 30 acres to do tomorrow, and then I'm done.
Okay. All right. Sorry.
Okay, so I guess for the next step, get the simulator running, get the differential and a Ackerman model, and then we can play around with some of the commands and see if we can break the planner and what type of commands would work. That's kind of the goal, we think.
Seems like all that stuff is easy to break, right?
Yes. And easy to fix. It's virtual.
I don't want to stand in the way of progress, but I would love to see some instructions on how to set up so that I could get my own instance of all of this running so that I could run it alongside. That would be great.
Are you a fan of Docker?
Yeah. Is there a repository for what's being worked on?
The Ross Agriculture has several repositories, and that's where most of the stuff that we're using is.
And what was the question, Matt? Am I a fan of something?
Oh, Docker.
Docker? Oh, yeah. I haven't used it. Well, not directly, at least. But I could become a fan. I'm open.
Okay. Good evening, Walter, shaking his head.
Hey, I'm just grateful to be part of this conversation. There's a lot of geniuses in this group. I'm just here for comedy relief, really.
Good to see you.
You got all this stuff set up so like someone like me could download this, like Kyler was asking, download and set up and do some magic?
Not yet.
You need to dig in.
Someone
Sounds
like
like
you
you
is
need
someone
somebody
like
to help. What was that, Kyler?
someone
time
like
to
you
dig
is
in.
someone like me. So yeah, I'm looking for the same level of help.
I use Docker. I'm extremely thankful for all the guys that make the Docker containers. I just download the whole container, I fire that thing up, and everything works. I mean, it's got ROS installed, gazebo simulators running. It's great, and it doesn't hammer my computer. You don't have to install anything besides Docker.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I would welcome that.
Which containers are you using?
Kinetic
Just Kinetic?
1604. Yeah.
Oh, so you're not, I was thinking you were saying you had special container, or are you building your own Docker images?
Yeah, I've done that. What's nice is putting it all into one container, so you can fire it up, and then Rviz can, when you start it up, Rviz all comes out of that container.
Yeah.
It's all self-contained, and it's just one thing, so it's easy.
Yeah.
That's what I like.
I was using it with Rviz and RQT or some of those, and I remember there was quite a few more steps to getting it to export the display properly.
Yep, but I have a Docker container in the Docker file for creating those that does all that, so I can package it up.
Yeah. The next thing would be to create a ROS Ag Docker Hub location to start pushing Docker images to a registry. So once you get
baby steps,
baby steps, get the simulation running first, and then we can have a Docker image.
oh,
There you go.
yeah, I guess I'm not too far away. I don't know. I could give it a go and see what I come up with. I can post up what I have so far and what I can get working, and then maybe we can work together on trying to figure that out. But I'll try to get the differential drive, the Ackerman rover, all in Gazebo running, and then make it so it's a container packaged up.
Did you, I saw on the Slack channel several people talking, I think some new people from France or something. Who is that, and what is they sound like they had a group of people.
Yeah, Alejandro from Colombia said there was a few guys. I haven't talked to him yet, but I'd like to schedule a meeting and see what they're working on.
Yeah, and maybe, I don't know, like Ian created the model for the simulation, and then I've had some trouble. I made some changes, but after I made the changes, I had trouble running it. So I don't know if that's my VM. I noticed that Rviz wasn't working for me either. So I suspect my VM has issues and I might need to look into that. But I guess I could run Docker and that solved my problem.
Seemed like a loaded setup there, Matt.
Get it going.
Yeah, get it going. Is there any other topics or any other questions people had?
You guys have like, so you don't have a repo set up yet? You're just, this is what the discussion point is? I mean, I've never, you guys have been talking for a while, but is that the plan? Is that what you're talking about with this ROS thing too?
There is a repo, and you should help.
I mean, just you take. Go ahead.
My question was more subtle. I asked him if there was a repo, meaning was there a simulation set up in there and all that? But
in the chat window is the GitHub repo.
Yeah, Kunal said that Rviz and Docker don't play well together, and it's absolutely true. Once you get the simulation gazebo fired up and everything running, it can get a little unstable, and it takes a lot of resources. So, agree. It's on one hand, it's super nice because it's all self-contained and clean and easy to run. You don't have to configure a lot of things, but the other thing is it takes a lot of resources and can be unstable. I think, Kunal, were you saying that you wanted to work on that Docker container? We'll see what we have. I guess I can post up the Docker file I have that I've been using, and then we can see if we're okay with that approach. I did want to talk about the next meeting. Maybe run that in January. We'll take a couple weeks off for the holidays, and then we can get back together on January 9th, Tuesday. Any thoughts on that?
it works for me.
Should give you plenty of time to get the Docker set up, right?
Yeah.
Docker image up there and running.
Yeah, need a few weeks.
I see lots of people ducking the who's going to help on that. That was pretty funny.
Yeah.
I'll be happy to help test it.
Okay, that's a big part of it. It'll work.
I'll look at it with you, Matt.
Awesome, that'd be cool. Yeah, it shouldn't be bad. I have the Docker file that I'm running, so I can get ROS going, Gazebo going, Rviz going. I don't know about getting all of the simulator stuff hooked up and working, but should be pretty close.
I think what we need to find is someone who has some skills in making Gazebo work well. And I know enough to hack some stuff together, but it takes me a while to get things going.
Yeah.
So if you were at OSRF, so I don't know what your excuse is now.
Running around trying to gain support. Yeah, a couple Gazebo modelers would be awesome. The talk from ROSCON where they made the simulation, they were able to generate different scenarios and then be able to test the code against that programmatically. I thought was fantastic. That would be a awesome AgBot challenge. A great way to lay that out.
Did you guys see this push for this like ROS learning and have like all the simulators running in the cloud? Is that, you know, you don't have to get everything up and running? Is that something you guys already discussed and moved from? Or is it just not really where you guys want to go? I haven't really, I looked at it for like a minute or two and then I moved on. I think it was part of some MOOC or something.
We'll let the ambassador talk about that.
Oh, he's on the thing.
Yeah.
I think you're an ambassador too, Matt. I recall. Anyway, maybe you're talking about a few weeks ago. What was his name? Alan? I forget his name. You remember who came on? The guy who came on and was showing us the. It wasn't really gazebo. It was some other kind of.
Well,
was it? It wasn't even a simulation.
Truck sim, or are you talking about being able to control the robot over to the cloud?
Yeah, that was it. It was a cloud-based robotic control thing. That was pretty neat.
That was Davis, the Danfoss?
No, it's Alan.
Or
From
okay.
Alan, yeah.
Wow.
Someone checked in one of the Slack groups about the Danfoss project, and I looked at their video, and they were doing control over the cloud.
Wow.
Not what I was talking about, but that is pretty cool.
You're talking about the construct sim where you could learn.
That's
raw.
it. Yeah, that thing.
I was just telling Matt earlier that they're starting to do a bunch of meetups, and they announced today that they're putting their meetups on hold, and I guess they're restructuring their game plan. So we'll have to see how much access people can get going forward.
I've taken the ROS in 5 days. I'm probably halfway through or 3/4 of the way through, and I've really enjoyed the class.
Which one?
The ROS in 5 days.
ROS Basics in 5 days?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. They have probably a dozen or more now. I guess you can always buy it. There's no more meetups.
Pay for the subscription.
Yeah, which isn't terrible.
I'm considering it.
Pretty
If it works well, it's a bargain.
Yeah, I think the only downside is that it's mostly Python, but I think there is some C++.
Did you say downside to Python? What?
Yeah, come on.
Python's not so great when you're trying to do, like, IMU measurements, but it is what it is, right?
If you're doing IMU measurements, write a note in C. What's the big problem? For assembly. I mean, come on.
Move to assembly. You go from Python being your favorite to assembly, huh?
It's either Python or yeah, pretty much. FACS 11.783, yeah.
Those are like.
I think I just died inside.
Hey, I was a heavy-duty PostScript programmer there for a while.
I don't even know what that is.
I don't even know what that is.
PostScript? It's a printer language primarily, but it can be co-opted to do other things. I was writing web applications in it in the 90s, early 90s. Incidentally, has everyone heard of MicroPython?
Yeah. For embedded processors.
I've got a couple of them around here, and I haven't used them yet. I'm hoping to break them out of the box when I'm done with harvest.
I think your harvest would be easier with some robots. Wait, too soon?
Kyler's
You
got
know,
some.
too late.
Oh, right. True, true.
My harvest would not be possible without at least one.
All right. Is there anything else we want to cover, or happy holidays?
I did name drop Ross Agriculture today in a conversation I had on the phone. It was pretty awesome. They're like, I know those people. That's what they said too. So I can talk to you about that later, Matt.
That's awesome.
I want to hear that. What's going on?
We can talk offline. Sometimes you got to name drop. That's all I'm saying. But good to see everyone again. Thanks for letting me on the call, guys. Matt and Jeremy, good to see you guys again. Kyler, heard a lot about you guys. And, you know, if I didn't get to meet the rest of you on the call, I'm Walter. Just a random outlier here.
Hey, Walter.
Robot genius programmer from ASI.
You know, you're not even like my boss anymore. You can say all the real stuff now if you don't want.
Oh, it was awesome. Super fun.
Cool.
All right. Well, take care. I got to head out.
It's good seeing everyone.
See ya.
See you, Jeff.
See you later.
Sean,
Bye-bye.
Kyler,
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Kunal.